Ed and Lorraine Warren are among the most well-known names in the world of paranormal investigation. Together, they investigated hundreds of haunting cases and were involved in several dangerous exorcisms. But there was one case in their lives. A case so disturbing that it shook even them to their core. Many believe it was their most terrifying, and final, case. The Smurl Family Haunting. This story begins in 1973. In Pennsylvania, United States. Jack Smurl and his wife Janet Smurl moved into an old duplex house with their 2 young daughters. Their previous home had been completely destroyed by a powerful hurricane. This move was meant to be a fresh start. A new place. New hopes. And the promise of a better life. At first, everything seemed normal. Within a few months, Jack received a promotion at work. Feeling optimistic, he decided to invest money into renovating the house. But the moment repairs began, something inside the house changed. Small, strange things started happening. Tools used for renovation would suddenly disappear, only to reappear later in the exact same place they had vanished from. In one room, dark black stains began appearing on the walls. Jack had the walls repainted multiple times. 3, sometimes 4 coats of paint. Yet within days, the black marks always returned. No matter how often he painted them over, they never stayed gone. Then came the electrical problems. Lights flickered for no reason. One evening, while Jack was watching television, the TV suddenly burst into flames. As if something had violently exploded inside it. Multiple electricians inspected the wiring. Every single one said the same thing. There's nothing wrong. Late one night, the radio suddenly turned on at full volume. Annoyed, Jack rushed downstairs, thinking his daughters were playing a prank. But when he entered the living room, his blood ran cold. The radio wasn't plugged in. From that point on, it happened often. Televisions and radios turned on by themselves. Doors and cabinets opened on their own. The temperature inside the house would suddenly drop. Even during summer. The air inside felt unnaturally cold. After their bathroom renovation, Janet walked in the next morning and froze. Deep scratch marks covered the walls. It looked as if something had been trapped inside overnight, desperately trying to escape. That was when fear truly settled into the family. One day, Janet heard her mother-in-law calling her from another room. But when she went to check, her mother-in-law insisted she hadn't said a word. Soon, everyone in the house began experiencing the same thing. Hearing their names being called when no one was there. One night, terrifying screams came from their daughter's bedroom. Jack and Janet rushed inside. Their daughter was drenched in sweat, shaking, staring at the corner of the room. She kept repeating, "There's something there. It's floating. It's horrible." But Jack and Janet saw nothing. When the lights were turned on, their daughter slowly calmed down. A few days later, Janet was working in the kitchen when she felt a sudden blast of icy air. Thinking a window was open, she turned to check. It was closed. When she turned back around, she stopped breathing. In the corner of the kitchen hovered a dark shadow. It had no face. Yet Janet felt it was staring directly at her. The shadow slowly moved closer, passed right beside her, and vanished straight through the wall. Later that same day, her mother-in-law admitted she had seen the exact same shadow. From that moment on, the shadow became a regular presence in the house. Jack and Janet now believed it completely. Something non-human was living with them. At first, since no one was being physically harmed, they tried to endure it. But everything changed. After the birth of their twin daughters, One afternoon, Jack was sitting in the living room with the babies. Suddenly, he heard violent scraping sounds from the ceiling. Janet looked up and instantly pulled one baby away. A massive chandelier crashed down, exactly where the child had been moments earlier. If anyone had been standing beneath it, they would not have survived. Terrified, Jack contacted a priest. A house blessing ritual was performed. For a short time, the activity stopped. But when it returned, it was far worse. Appliances caught fire. Light bulbs exploded. Family members were frequently injured for no reason. Then came the moment that broke them. Right after another blessing, their dog suddenly began barking wildly, was lifted into the air, and slammed violently against the wall. The dog survived, but the family was traumatized. Jack now understood the truth. Whatever was in the house wanted to hurt them. Multiple priests were called. More rituals were performed. Nothing worked. The church refused to approve an exorcism. There was no physical proof. Jack had invested too much money in the house to leave. No one wanted to buy it. They were trapped. Desperate. And that's when someone told them about Ed and Lorraine Warren. The question now was simple. Could Ed and Lorraine Warren save the Smurl family? Or was something far more horrifying still waiting inside that house? As time passed, the incidents surrounding the Smurl family grew more violent and disturbing. At night, when Jack Smurl slept, he often felt as if someone was standing extremely close to him, breathing right beside him. But whenever he opened his eyes, there was nothing there. Then one night, Jack woke suddenly after hearing the voice of a young woman calling him. At first, he thought it was Janet. But when he turned toward the bed, Janet was not there. Instead, a strange young woman was lying beside him. Her face was completely pale. Dark, deep circles surrounded her eyes. Before Jack could react, the woman grabbed him. Everything went black. When Jack regained consciousness, his entire body was covered in deep scratch marks, as if something had clawed him violently. When he told Janet what had happened, she broke down. Janet confessed that similar things had been happening to her for a long time. She said that at night, a tall black shadow would approach her, pull her blanket down, grab her legs, and after that, she would lose consciousness. When she woke up, she too found scratch marks all over her body. Hearing each other's stories, both Jack and Janet were completely terrified. One night, as they slept together, Jack had an extremely strange dream. In the dream, he was floating in the air. But when his eyes opened, he realized it was not a dream at all. Jack was actually floating nearly 2 feet above his bed. Suddenly, his body began to shake violently, and he slammed hard back onto the mattress. Janet also experienced horrifying incidents. One afternoon, while Jack and Janet were asleep, they woke up suddenly. Janet felt something pulling her off the bed. She couldn't see it. She couldn't hear it. But whatever it was dragging her with terrifying force. Jack tried to pull Janet back, but the invisible force was far stronger than him. It dragged Janet off the bed, across the floor, and into the corner of the room. Janet could do nothing but scream. After several moments, the force released her body. Jack and Janet were now completely broken with fear. By this point, the Smurl family had lived in that house for 13 years. They could not take it anymore. Without delay, They contacted the world's most famous paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Lorraine Warren possessed psychic abilities that allowed her to sense things ordinary people could not. The moment she stepped into the Smurl house, she felt it immediately. There was not just one spirit in the home. There were many. After a detailed investigation, the Warrens concluded that 4 entities were present. One was the spirit of an elderly woman who meant no harm. Another was a disturbed, angry young woman. The third was a large, aggressive male presence. But far more dangerous than all 3 was the 4th entity. An inhuman, demonic force. A demon. And it was controlling the others. The Warrens began multiple blessing rituals and exorcisms. During one exorcism, Ed Warren was walking through the house, reading holy prayers. When he entered Jack and Janet's bedroom, he saw a dark shadow. As he began praying loudly, Ed suddenly felt his breath stop. It felt as if invisible hands were choking him. Finger-like pressure wrapped tightly around his throat. Just in time, a member of Ed's team rushed in and began chanting prayers loudly. The pressure vanished, but deep finger marks remained on Ed's neck. Despite repeated rituals, the Smurl family's suffering did not stop. The atmosphere inside the house became unbearably heavy. The children refused to sleep alone. Christian crosses fell from the walls on their own. Furniture moved violently. Sometimes, right in front of the family and the Warrens. Chairs lifted into the air and slammed together. One day, Ed noticed a message written on the bedroom mirror. Leave. Something in the house did not want them there. No priest was able to help further. Desperate, the Smurl family went to the media, hoping someone would finally listen. Hiding their identities, Jack and Janet appeared on a talk show with Lorraine Warren and told their entire story. But the demon did not like being exposed. When they returned home that night, it was waiting. As Jack and Janet slept, their bed began shaking violently. When they opened their eyes, the bed was floating in the air. Standing before them was a terrifying demonic figure. For the first time, they saw it with their own eyes. The next morning, their bodies were covered in injuries. Still, the Warrens refused to give up. But during one exorcism, Janet became possessed. Her body lifted into the air. Her eyes turned white. She screamed in pain. Her voice changed, speaking in a language no one understood. Suddenly, Janet was thrown violently into the wall and collapsed to the floor. Blood poured from her head. Jack could not take it anymore. He demanded the exorcism stop. The Warrens performed their final exorcism in 1989. After that, the demonic activity slowly decreased. But it was never officially confirmed that the demon had truly left. After 15 years of torture, the Smurl family finally abandoned the house. The Smurl Family Haunting remains one of the most disturbing cases in paranormal history. A case where an entire family was trapped by an invisible evil. Even the Warrens admitted that they had never encountered a more violent or dangerous demonic presence. It remains the only case the Warrens were never able to fully solve. Friends, if you enjoyed this animated video on the Smurl Family Haunting, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.